If you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, or really anywhere in the Austin area, this is the video that you need to watch before you do, because today I am breaking down the real cost of living here, not the highlight reel version, but what it actually costs month to month. And honestly, there were a few things that surprised us way more than we expected, because we lived in Austin a few years ago and there were still things that surprised us. So last week I posted my full townhome tour here in Round Rock, Texas, which is about 20 minutes north of downtown Austin, and I showed you just how much space you can get for $2,000 a month. So if you haven't seen that video yet, definitely go watch it after this one, because it gives you a really good idea of what your money actually gets you out here. But today I wanted to sit down and just kind of go over all of the numbers, what it actually costs to live here on a monthly basis if you were to move to Round Rock, or really the whole greater Austin area. And I do want to say before we get into it, I'm giving you the absolute base cost. I'm not including things like health insurance, subscriptions like Netflix, gym memberships, shopping, or anything like that, because obviously, everybody's lifestyle is going to look completely different. Your health insurance cost is going to be different than mine. So think of this as your foundation budget, and then you can add on your own personal expenses to figure out what your real monthly total would be if you were to move here. So starting with the biggest expense, which is rent, like I said before, we pay $2,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom townhome here in Round Rock. It's split into 2 levels, has a garage, a small private backyard, and honestly, it feels like a huge upgrade in space compared to what we were used to before. And this is one of the biggest benefits of living just outside of Austin. You get so much more space for your money compared to being in the city itself. If the exact same place were closer to downtown Austin, you'd easily be paying closer to $2,500 or $3,000 a month, if not more. So areas like Round Rock, Cedar Park, Georgetown, Leander, they're really where you start to find that balance of affordability while still being close to everything. Next, moving into utilities, starting with electricity, which is our main utility since we don't have gas. This one obviously changes depending on how much you're using, especially in Texas where summers get extremely hot, but on average we pay about $130 a month. I will say though, that number will definitely go up in the summer when the AC is running pretty much non-stop. So do keep that in mind when you are making a yearly budget. Our water is actually included in our rent, which is amazing, but it's not always the case. So you definitely want to make sure that you check that out when you are looking at places to rent. Then we do have Wi-Fi, which is about $60 a month, and renter's insurance, which is surprisingly affordable. We pay only $12 a month for that. Now, one thing I have to talk about, because this is probably the most unexpected expense for us, is trash. We pay $250 every 3 months, which comes out to $84 a month just for trash, which in my opinion is honestly insanely expensive. What's even crazier is that on the invoice, the actual trash service is listed as $150. Then there's a fuel and environment recovery fee of $100, which basically doubles the price. And coming from living in apartments before, that's the only thing we've ever lived in, where trash is either included or it's very minimal, this was definitely a shock for us. And we had to pay for the actual bins to be delivered. So that first payment was just so expensive. We weren't expecting that at all. So if you are planning on renting a house or a townhome instead of an apartment, just know that this is something that you will have to factor into your budget. Moving on to groceries, we typically spend about $100 a week at H-E-B, which if you're moving to Texas, you will quickly learn is the best grocery store ever. I am so obsessed with all of their H-E-B specific products, and they take pride in trying to have as much produce, meat, and just products in general come from local Texas farms and Texas places, which I love. Then on top of that, we spend about $50 a week at Sam's Club for like bulk items. So in total, that comes out to around $600 a month on groceries. And honestly, I feel like groceries here are pretty reasonable. They're definitely more expensive than what we are used to in the UK, but still significantly cheaper than places like California. So I'd say they're pretty middle of the road overall. On top of groceries, we do like to eat out on the weekends, and we usually spend about $150 every weekend, which adds another $600 a month. So combined, we're spending about $1,200 a month on food between groceries and eating out. Of course, this is going to vary a lot depending on how often you eat out, how many people are in your household, and just your general lifestyle. But I think this is a pretty realistic average. Now for transportation, we're actually in a pretty unique situation because we have a fully electric car and we can charge for free at a fast charger about 3 miles from our house. So that saves us so much money. But if you do have a gas car, this is definitely something that you do need to factor in. Right now, as of April 2026, gas is about $3.37 per gallon at the Costco nearby in Cedar Park. And when we first moved here, it was closer to $2.99. So it has gone up quite a bit. Gas prices are one of those things, obviously, that just fluctuate constantly. So my advice would be to budget for the highest end. And if it ends up being cheaper, then that's just a bonus for you. Or of course, if you do have a fully electric car, or even a hybrid car that you need to charge, you'll either need to factor in slightly higher electricity bills if you're charging at home, or factor in public supercharger costs, which are higher than home charging, of course, averaging at about 28 cents to 40 cents per kilowatt, which is like 11 to 23-ish dollars for a full charge. And something else to keep in mind is that transportation costs don't stop at gas or charging. You'll also have to pay things like car insurance, car payments, maintenance, things like that. And in Texas, everything is so spread out. So you'll likely be driving a lot more than you might expect or that you're used to, especially if you're coming from somewhere a little bit more walkable or where everything's a lot closer together. Another category that people don't always think about is general household essentials like cleaning supplies, toiletries, paper towels, laundry detergent, all of those little things that you constantly have to restock. I would say that probably comes out to anywhere between $50 and $150 a month depending on your household. And if you have kids or a baby, that number can go up even more with things like diapers, which are so much more expensive in the States than in the UK, wipes, and all of that. So if we take all of the base expenses, rent at $2,000, utilities at about $286, and food at about $1,200. That brings the total to about $3,486 per month. And again, this is the absolute bare minimum or base minimum. This doesn't include things like car payments, insurance, phone bills, subscriptions, or any kind of personal spending. So your actual monthly cost is going to be a lot higher, but this gives you a really solid starting point to work from. Overall, I would say that living in Round Rock or the greater Austin area is kind of the middle ground. It's not the cheapest place to live in Texas, of course, because it's still a city with over 100,000 people and it's so close to one of the coolest cities in America with so much to do. I love Austin so much, but compared to other major cities like LA, New York, or even parts of Florida now, it's still relatively affordable for what you get, especially when you factor in the space, the newer homes, and just the overall lifestyle here. So if you are considering moving to Austin or one of the surrounding suburbs like Round Rock, I hope that this does give you a really clear picture of what to expect cost-wise. Take this base number and add in your own personal expenses, and that will give you your true monthly budget. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe because I'll be sharing more about what it's like to actually live here, mom life in Texas, and everything in between. And if you have any questions about moving here, leave them in the comments. I'd love to help you answer them. Now let's take a look at why we decided to leave the UK after living there for 3 years and move back to the US.